My goal with What Inspires Me is to showcase everyday people who are working on their dreams. In today's episode, we're talking with Miss Niya. Miss Niya started out washing locks in her bathroom and now is a professional dreadlock washer, and she gets the gunk out. Her container shop is located at Bathurst in Dundas, and now we're gonna get right into the interview with Miss Niya. Thanks for watching. So where does the Cleanlocs story begin?
It begins where I started washing friends' hair, like before I even had locks. And then I unfortunately found myself in a crappy situation that I needed to get out of. And I didn't have any money, so I needed to find a way to make money on my own. So I decided to start washing hair in my bathtub.
And in terms of washing hair in your bathtub, where was it? Just everybody's hair, or was it always locks?
Always just locks.
Okay.
Yeah, I realized from washing a couple of friends' hair that there was like this unknown epidemic of like gunk and buildup in people's locks. And the first time I did it, I thought it was just that guy. And then I did another head and I was like, whoa, he has it too. And then I did another one and I was like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere.
And so what inspires you?
People. Just people in general. Everyone has a story. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own kind of like unique like ingredient that they add to this pie we call life. And just from learning from other people's hardships, I guess, I've always been able to kind of take the experiences of others and try to apply them to my life without me having to go through the same things. And I like badass women like Eartha Kitt, even Oprah, even though she's like keeping coonery alive. Who else is do I find inspirational as like I like women who fight back and just don't take it, you know what I mean? And I guess maybe that speaks to me because that's exactly what I had to do in order to get where I am right now.
And what are you most proud of to this point?
I'm proud that I broke the stereotype of the system, because I also came up with the notion that to take assistance from the government, etc., makes you less than. You know, like, sorry, Grandma, I have to shout you out too. But like, I would grow up and my grandmother's like, only welfare recipients sleep past noon. Right? But everybody needs help at some point in time. And I think that society, as well as the government, does such a tremendous job of making people feel guilty for accepting a handout if they need it, that they discourage people from ever really moving forward in the ways that they need to. So I'm most proud that I had to humble myself and take the assistance. I had to humble myself because I found myself in a situation I never thought I would have found myself in. I was in like an unfortunately abusive relationship, and I'm always preaching, you know, women's strength, etc. So it was kind of embarrassing for me to even have to admit that. So I had to humble myself there. And then I had to humble myself again when I accepted taking government assistance. But then I realized that, you know, shout out to Big Black Lincoln, you have to pimp life, you know? Those are things that you'll never get back from the government unless you ask for it. You know, like when you retire, they're not going to be like, oh, Gina, you actually never took EI in your life. Let's just give you all this money back. Like, that's never going to happen. So I had to bring myself out of my own comfort zone and make the best of everything that I had, and saw the ways that I could use the tools that were given to me to like push forward. So with my end result being that I'm pretty sure my ex-boyfriend still has a boss and I don't.
What keeps you going on days that you want to quit?
Probably my OCD. I can't help it. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever had a day since I started that I actually did feel like I wanted to quit, which is an awesome thing to say 7 years later.
What's been your most important lesson in business or life?
Don't sweat the small stuff, and it applies to both areas. In business, I guess the clearest thing for me was knowing that shit was going to happen. I just didn't know what the shit was going to be. But being mentally prepared for whatever said shit would be was enough to keep me going, because you'll come across times when you're like, why is this just not working out? This regulation thing isn't working. That person said they were going to send me an email, and like it can become very overwhelming. But just knowing that stuff's going to happen and you're going to get through it on the business side. And I guess, yeah, the same thing would also apply to life. You know, shit's going to happen. It's just about a matter of like how you maneuver your way around it.
Now, what advice do you have for someone coming up that may be in a similar situation, just trying to figure out how to get out there, how to do what they love?
Do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Just do something. It doesn't matter how small it is. Just do something. If you want to be a chef, cook a meal. You don't even have to give it to anybody. Just do something. And as you start doing things, you'll bump into the other hardships and you'll bump into the things that don't make it work. But all that does is force your brain to do a little bit more work and gets you thinking. And it forces you to be creative. And like, what's that guy with the movie? He took the pill and he like can think his way out of anything. That's what you got to do, you know? Just know that you can think your way out of whatever said problem is. And have faith, blind faith, like really blind. Like you have no idea how it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen. That will carry you like really, really far.
And how do you balance life and work and just your creative space and finding balance in it all?
I think that when you finally land on work that you like, it doesn't feel like work. So there is less of a need for you to actually balance anything, because it just balances itself out. You know, I have the benefit that if I have a bad day, I can take a day off. However, I also know that if I take a day off, I don't get paid. You know, so I think that's all I have to say about that.
And is there a book that changed your life? Do you have a book that you can think of that changed your life?
Like my life in general, or like business life?
Either or.
Business life would be the E-Myth, because that forced me to kind of check myself in a couple of ways. It basically just talks about the fact that most people think that because they have an idea, they can be all the components of a business, when in reality, you're probably just excelling in one. And shows you the ways that you can look outside of yourself to get the things that you need. And just letting go of the fact that you can't do all of it on your own well. In terms of just life in general, 1984 by George Orwell. That shit just opened my eyes up. We were supposed to read it in high school. Totally didn't read it. And then I ran into a high school friend of mine who I secretly fell in love with like after we were in high school, because he's just so fucking smart. Shout out to Nolan, even though you never big me up. And he gave me that book, and he was like, you know, I won't tell you anything about it, but once you read the book, you'll never look at life the same. And at the time we were going through an election, so it just was kind of like paralleled each other. And it's true. I never looked at life ever the same again. So I can't tell you exactly what it's about either, but you should read it.